League Battle for Metropolis at various Six Flags parks is easily the most underrated dark ride I've ever ridden, and in this video I will be comparing it to various Universal and Disney dark rides such as Toy Story Mania and Men in Black Alien Attack to prove to you viewers why Justice League Battle for Metropolis is easily the most underrated dark ride I have ever ridden. Let's get started. Now let's start with the most important aspect of any shooting dark ride, and that's the shooting. The main reason I love the shooting on the Justice League dark rides is because the shooting is very responsive, the guns are easy to use, and it's easy to know where you're shooting. And that's because when you're riding Justice League, one thing you'll notice is that there's tiny red dots. And that's to show you where exactly you're aiming, so it's very easy to know where you're aiming. And also, the guns are super easy to use and responsive, which I can't say the same thing about other shooting dark rides such as Toy Story Mania and Men in Black Alien Attack. As Men in Black Alien Attack has very similar guns to Justice League, and they're fairly responsive, though it doesn't have any sort of dots or anything like that to show you exactly where you're aiming, which is another reason why I think Justice League is better than Men in Black in that department. And then also, the reason it's better than Toy Story Mania is because maybe this is just my opinion, but I swear Toy Story Mania has some of the worst guns ever for a shooting dark ride. That's because you have to aim using one hand, and then you have to pull back and shoot using the other hand, and it's so annoying because on every other shooting dark ride I've ridden, you just pull a trigger and that's how you shoot, which is how it should be with a shooting dark ride. And because of all those reasons, that's why I believe Justice League Battle for Metropolis has some of the best shooting mechanics of any shooting dark ride. So let's move on to the ride experience of the Justice League dark rides. And one thing you should note with the Justice League dark rides is that they are highly screen-based, which in my opinion is not a con to these rides, as like the screens don't really detract from the ride experience as they do with other dark rides. And this can be seen as a con if you're used to riding Men in Black Alien Attack at Universal Studios, as that ride mainly has a lot of physical sets and very few screens at all. So like if you're comparing Justice League to Men in Black, the fact that Justice League has a lot of screens can be seen as a downside, but to me, I think it doesn't really matter as the screens don't really impact the ride experience in a negative way. But one thing to note about the Justice League dark rides is they do have a couple of animatronics here and there. And at least from my experience, all the animatronics have worked, which is surprising considering Six Flags parks aren't known for the highest maintenance on their dark rides. And also, these Justice League dark rides also have several practical effects throughout the rides, including fire and smoke and fog. And from my experience, all those effects have worked, which is great for these Six Flags dark rides, which your experience may vary, but they've all worked for me on the 3 Justice League dark rides I've done, which are the ones at Six Flags Over Texas, Six Flags Over Georgia, and Six Flags Great Adventure. And another thing you should note about Justice League is the ride system is similar to the Spider-Man dark ride at Islands of Adventure in a sense, how the vehicles do spin throughout the ride, and there's several practical effects like I mentioned earlier, which you also get on Spider-Man, even though this is a shooting dark ride and not a motion simulator. And another thing to note with Justice League is if you rode it before 2022, there was 3D throughout the ride, and as someone who has ridden both the 3D and non-3D versions of Justice League Battle for Metropolis, I don't think the 3D really added a lot to the experience. Now, it is a nice addition to these dark rides, but it wasn't like a must-have. And that's kind of my opinion with 3D on a lot of dark rides in general, as the 3D is something that's nice to have, but it's not like necessary. As like the Justice League dark ride, it works perfectly fine without 3D. With this video, I just want to thank you for watching the video, and remember to like and share this video with anybody you know who will be visiting Six Flags parks in the near future. And also remember to subscribe to Southeastern Thrills to keep up with all the latest theme park travel tips to make sure you can have the best day ever at any amusement park, and peace.